Have you ever had a dream where you're in the same place and you see the same person over and over again? Every time you wake up, your mouth feels dry, as if you've been on a long journey. And that person's figure is deeply imprinted in your mind and never lingers. What should you do when faced with this situation? In 2015, I was in the 5th grade of primary school at that time. I remember it was the summer vacation in August, and I participated in a care class opened by our head teacher. There were only 4 students in this small class, and the location was in our head teacher's house. For convenience, several of our students lived there. So, during those days, our study and life were almost all carried out in the teacher's house. His house was on the 6th floor of an old-fashioned residential building. It was a 3-bedroom house. I shared a bedroom with 3 other classmates, and the room had a bunk structure. At that time, I slept in the bottom bunk, while the teacher lived in another small bedroom. There was a larger master bedroom that was converted into a classroom. One night, after the evening study, we went back to our room early to rest. Soon after, I had a strange dream. In the dream, I was walking alone on a narrow dirt path, lined with thick forests, tall and straight trees. Branches and leaves intertwined in the maple leaves, and occasionally made a slight rustling sound. A faint mist shrouded the surroundings, and there was a strange atmosphere in the air. The surroundings were eerily quiet, only my footsteps echoed in my ears. As I moved forward, the road seemed to get longer and longer. Just then, I saw a figure looming in the fog in the distance, slowly walking towards me. He was wearing a white dress, his long black hair was blown over his shoulders, and the breeze gently floated her hair. Her face was unusually pale, but the thing that really creeped me out was that he had no pupils. His eyes were blank and his expression was dead and indifferent. He was about a head taller than me, who was a primary school student at that time. He approached me step by step, and I continued to move forward uncontrollably stiff. Finally, we passed each other on this narrow path. At that moment, the cold meaning rushed from the soles of my feet to my forehead, and my whole person seemed to be frozen half and could not move. Just when I was terrified, I suddenly woke up from my dream. It was dark all around, it was probably late at night, and the room was quiet and only my rapid breathing could be heard. At this moment, I felt a little thirsty. After getting up, I groped on the table and picked up the water glass. I found that there was still half a glass of water in it. I raised my head and drank the water, put down the cup and went back to bed again, closed my eyes, and soon fell asleep again. However, I began to have the same dream again. I was walking along this road in my dream, and the woman with no pupils appeared in front of me, and we passed each other. And just like before, I woke up from the dream, my heart racing, and my head was sweating a lot. When I woke up this time, I felt extremely thirsty, and my throat was dry as if it had been burned by fire. I got up to get the water glass on the table, only to find that the water inside had already been drunk, and I had to go to the water dispenser in the outhouse to get the water. But when I got to the water dispenser, I found that the bucket on it was empty, which made me regret it. I knew I shouldn't have drunk all the water when I woke up for the first time. It was midnight, and it was dark outside. I was hesitant to go downstairs to buy a bottle of water, but then I thought of the 2 strange dreams and the woman without pupils. I felt a chill in my heart. At this time, the thirst was not unbearable, so I decided to hold on for a while, thinking that when it was dawn, I would go downstairs to buy breakfast and have some porridge to pick up the guests. So I lay back in bed and fell asleep again without realizing it. But strangely, I had the same dream again. When I woke up again, it was still not dawn. I was completely broken, and the feeling of thirst was even stronger. At that moment, I may have needed water the most in my life. It was like walking in the desert for several days without drinking water. My mouth was very dry at this time, and I couldn't even secrete saliva in my mouth, so I planned to go to the kitchen to get tap water to drink. As a result, when I came to the kitchen door, I found that the kitchen door could not be opened for no reason. At that time, my thirst was unbearable and my emotions were a little out of control. It gradually evolved from turning the door handle to kicking the door. My emotions lost my mind due to thirst. I became more and more irritable. Finally, the door was kicked open by me. I rushed to the kitchen faucet like crazy. After unscrewing the faucet, I began to drink tap water crazily. After drinking the water, I gradually regained my sanity. In order to no longer feel thirsty, I deliberately contained a large mouthful of water in my mouth, inside, like a mouthwash. I brought my water glass again, and then took a full glass of tap water. I went back to bed and sat there swallowing slowly with water in my mouth, looking unconsciously at the dark night outside the window, repeating the same dream and the woman in the forest 3 times in my mind. I didn't dare to sleep again, afraid of dreaming of that woman again. Just like that, I quietly looked out the window, and slowly the dawn began to dawn, and the early morning light poured into the room through the window, and the depression in my heart also weakened. I looked at the alarm clock. It was almost 5 o'clock. As the sun rose, my mental state improved slightly. At this time, my sleepiness also came up, so I lay in bed for a while. To be honest, that night was the hardest night of my life. The teacher pushed open our dormitory door and woke us up. At about 6:30, I woke up and saw a glass of tap water on the table, so I decided to go to the kitchen to pour out the tap water. As a result, when I passed the water dispenser, I suddenly found that there was still half a bucket of water in the bucket above the water dispenser, not a drop of water in the bucket, like at night. I hurried into the kitchen and poured out the tap water. After that, I suddenly remembered that the kitchen door lock of my teacher's house had long been broken. I tried to close the door again and then twisted the door handle. It was not like last night that the wheel could not be opened. I went back to the water dispenser and turned on the switch, and the water flowed out normally and filled my cup. I started to get sick that day. At first, I thought it might be because I drank too much tap water at night, so I felt dizzy and vomited. In the end, I couldn't even eat. So I had to take leave to go home, and then went to the hospital to get medicine. At that time, I recuperated at home for 2 days, and the illness was cured, and this matter passed like this. Since then, I have never dreamed of the forest in the fog and the woman without pupils. To this day, I still can't understand why that woman appeared in my dreams, and why every time I dream of him, I wake up from my dreams and feel intense thirst. Why did the water dispenser that used to have water suddenly become empty that night? And why was the broken kitchen door locked that night? I can't find the answer to all this. Since this happened, I have a problem that every time I drink water, I will drink it slowly, like drinking tea. A glass of water always takes a day to drink. Maybe only in this way can I feel at ease and at ease.